But speaking of Spider-Man, I want to get into one thing that's really on the top of my head today. That's Tom Holland. So Tom Holland recently said in an interview, he was with Jay Shetty recently, which Jay Shetty, he does all these motivational kind of like sits down, breaks down your life, tells you how to deal with things, helps you out. It's like a big podcast that he's had for a long time. So it only makes sense that Tom Holland's on there talking about his alcohol problems. So Tom Holland was on there saying like he was, an alcoholic. Hollywood led him to that. He hasn't been doing well. He finally cut the drugs, he said drugs, but it was alcohol. Who knows what else? Maybe there's something else, but we can't speculate. We can speculate, but we shouldn't speculate.
Alleged.
But, allegedly, it's just alcohol. But he said, look, he's like, I'm really a massive fan of making movies, but I really do not like Hollywood. It's not for me, he said. But you're Spider-Man, and it made your career, and he's like, it's not for me. I get being run down by it. That's what he was saying, too. I'm always looking for some kind of way to remove myself from it, he says, because he wasn't going to lose who he really is, which I said when I moved to Hollywood was a big thing. I told Mike, Mike, if I lose who I am, you know where I am. He said, I will crawl into your window and I will slowly beat you until you come back to being Brian, who you were before. And I said, go ahead, man, go ahead. But Tom Holland doesn't have a friend like Mr. Mike Casey, touchy ghost over here. So, he says he hates Hollywood. And at 27 years old, I mean, maybe it's the fame. Maybe it's like he can't go out in public. But, I mean, I'll take those problems any day, right? I don't know. Sabrina, what do you think? Do you think this is a big deal? Do you think he's just run down from everything? Or do you think that, he's being a little bitch about, like, hating Hollywood? He shouldn't hate Hollywood, I don't think. It's just weird to me.
I don't know that he necessarily hates Hollywood, but I think he hates, like, the politics of Hollywood and, like, the things that, happen and go along with being an extremely popular actor in Hollywood. Like, I don't think he's, necessarily, I think he's grateful for what he's done and what he's been able to do because this is his chosen profession. I think that maybe he did use alcohol to cope with the stress and the issues that he had with it. And maybe now that he's sober, which he's been for a little over a year, he sees things in a different light. Maybe he saw that it was easier to fit in and deal with all the bullshit if he was constantly drinking. And like now that he has a different,
perspective on
view on things, yeah, maybe it's a little bit different for him. And he's been acting since he was 9 years old. I mean, I understand being a little bit fatigued, especially after the whole crowded room thing, which first of all wasn't received very well, which is unfortunate because I
much you
haven't
put into
watched
that?
it, so I can't say, but it does really look like he really put in a extremely like awesome performance. Like it really, like the little bit that I've seen of it, it seems like he did a really good job. He himself. I just, he was a producer on that. It was taking up a lot of his time. I think that he is just fatigued at the moment. Sobriety is maybe showing him things in a different light, and he, he doesn't want to fall into, he said he lost friends because of like the Hollywood thing and like, people change. And I don't think he wants to fall into that. Like, I don't think I respect what he's saying, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I get it. It's tough. And we've all said that too before you come to Hollywood. It's a tough job. And that's a lot of stuff that's happening right now with the writers and the actors being on strike too, because it's not easy. And you lose a lot of yourself. You lose the time and people lose relationships. A lot of divorces in Hollywood too, based off of everything that's been, the hours and the commitment and the time away and the traveling and the no turnaround, the no weekends. So I get it. And but it's also like a weird thing to say. I think maybe he's probably got his foot in his mouth, but Tom Holland does that a lot too. Like he always spoils stuff all the time too. So. But I feel you, Spring. I think you're right. I think it's just tough, and he's been doing it for a long time. He said he wanted a break from that for a while too, and he really hasn't been able to take one because he's so on demand, or so in demand, I should say. But Mike, what do you think? Do you think that this means anything? Do you think he's just spitting this, or do you think that he really is sick of Hollywood and his career might end shorter than we expect because he feels this way?
Number one, man, if he's got a year of sobriety under his belt, good for you, dog. I hope that keeps working for you and your whole life just continues to blossom. Losing friends, like, I don't know if that's strictly a Hollywood thing or I don't know if that's a getting sober thing. I know he's not alone. There's a lot of 27-year-olds and older, like through the whole spectrum, like you're going to be finding people that have affinities with you and non-affinities with you. You're going to need to be cutting toxic people out of your life and bringing in people that give you that energy. Um, a lot of what he's saying, I don't know is specific to. Yeah, thanks, GR. Work politics can be a true bitch. Like, I don't know that everything is necessarily specific to the Hollywood industry. Like, I think that criticisms of the business getting away of the thing that you're trying to accomplish is not specific to Hollywood. Although certainly, I'm not saying that it's not a different reality that he's in. Being, yeah, we can consider him a child actor as it is, right? Pretty much, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he seems like a good guy. And you made a good point, Brian. Like, prone to putting his putting his foot in his mouth, maybe a little bit in a very endearing way. I think we can all
Yeah.
agree, right?
I agree. And he is a really good person. And from what I've heard and seen, it seems like he really does care about Hollywood. It's just, maybe it's been tough for him recently. And again, he's worn down in that crowded room. He put a lot of effort into that too. That was a big deal. He talked about how beat down he was during that and how hard it was for him. So maybe it's just something that came down to like just the workload. He's exhausted, and that's like, then things come out when you're exhausted like this. You get frustrated and you just, you spit things out, and he does spit things out of his mouth sometimes.
That was another thing that I was going to say. If you can pardon my interruption, Brian. I think
get in there, Mike.
The new podcast medium, like, I think we're really expecting more out of our celebrities than we did even 10 years ago, but certainly much more than in the past. Like, you can't just be this figurine, this Barbie like figure. Even that's being disassembled for us. But we expect people to have some depth and openness and communicate, because I think that as a culture, those are the values that we're kind of learning that we really need in whatever the current climate is. Speaking of the Kermit climate,
Kermit.
no, just I think that as a medium is that's what we want. We want you to put your foot in your mouth. We want you to be a little bit less guarded.
It's fun.
So whatever. Like, you say you hate something, I don't know that that's his forever opinion, right? Like, you had a feeling.
Yeah.
Like, so good on him for sharing it.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, honestly, it's like, we feel it for you, Tom. We love you as Spider-Man. Keep it going. Get your mental health together. Stop the booze, because apparently you can't handle it.
He's a year out. Good if you're getting. He's a year out. He did it, man.
He did it. Yeah, I'm just saying. He's good. He's good. He's made it through. But like, stay off the booze. I should probably say, stay off the booze.
He also said, like, very specifically that, like, he had no idea that he had a problem with alcohol, and he, like, wasn't drinking for, like, I don't know, some reason, like maybe dry January. He did dry January. And then after doing dry January, like, he was like, he realized like how torturous it was. And he was like looking at the clock and like, being like, oh my God. So then he decided like that maybe he did have a problem with alcohol. And so he extended it to February. And then he was like, oh, well, let's just extend it to my birthday. And if I can make it by my birthday, or to my birthday, then I know I don't have a problem, which was in June. And so then he said by his birthday, which was in June, that he felt the best that he had in his life, and like things that would set him off on set, normally didn't anymore. And like, he just felt like a better, happier person. And like, I mean, at that age to be like, in a situation where you are having an issue like that and don't even realize, like, it's good that he knows and that he, is, found it so young or realized so young. And like, I'm sure he can have a much more, productive and, happy life, and maybe he can enjoy alcohol, in moderation at some point. Again, I don't know, but, he didn't know that there was an issue. He figured it out and like remedied it, and he said he's been happier than he ever is. So, bravo to you, man. Honestly,
it's fantastic.
If his withdrawal effects were that serious when he started dry January,
right?
That's a lot, especially for somebody that young.
I did dry January, and I could care less. Like, I was like, whatever. There were like maybe 2 nights that I was like, oh, I wish I could have a drink in the 30 days. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't really bother me, which is
I
thought it
think
would bother me more, but it
there's
didn't.
there's a lot of drinking culture issues. Like it's probably crazy in LA, especially if you know, big part of your job is going out, shaking hands, and
socializing.
having discussion with people, socializing. But also, like, if he really didn't see this creeping up on him, we have to imagine, like, just great. The UK, like, in general, probably also has, like, pretty intense drinking culture. Like, I live in Wisconsin right now. Like, it's challenging to go out and spend time with friends and stuff and not just have the whole situation be blanketed in alcohol. Brian's in
booze,
Michigan, like any place that it snows, you know, that doesn't
People
have
drink,
a lot.
you know, it's
Yeah.
hard not to. It's hard.
That's
It's
not
very
that's
hard.
not like Denver, like that you don't have other activities that get you outside.
Yeah.